Don't let your dreams be dreams. Just do it!
No. Hello everyone, I am Tessellating Hexagons, and you might be right if you're thinking, but Tess, didn't you do a monthly vlog like last week or something? And you know what, I don't actually remember when I last did a vlog, but it was sometime recently, but that was the end of June. This is July, and I have something that I would like to talk about, because, like, last time I vlogged, I didn't have that much to say, as I recall, because I was just presenting the results of that vote thing that happened. And I can tell right off the bat, July, really not an eventful month for me. I know I'm not going to have anything else to vlog about, not now, not later in the month. Like, you know, I prefer to do vlogs at the start of the month anyway, and so last month was kind of a weird exception, but I have had several late vlogs this year anyway. But yeah, we've established my life isn't that interesting, and so I don't really have much material to vlog about. I will have for next month, because of reasons that you will discover then, but for the moment, I would like to draw attention to this fucking book! It is the best thing that has ever crawled its way into my life. It's ruining my life, and I love it. I read it cover to cover in essentially one day. To give some background, it's entitled, I don't know how well you can see that, but it's there. It's The Laputan Factor by Tristan Black Wolf, or Tristan McAvery, if you prefer. But he prefers Tristan Black Wolf, and I will acknowledge that and accept that and whatever. It's on Twitter, at @TMcAvery. Show him some love, because this book is a fucking masterpiece! And it's not very long. I think it's about 24 chapters, I want to say. Hang on, just give me a moment to check. I'm flicking through it right now. That is, yep, 24 chapters. And it's brilliant! So, to give a rough summary, the main characters... Okay, first of all, actually, bit of background. I will concede right now that it's a piece of furry literature. It's from the furry fandom, but if you think that's a negative point, then there's something wrong with you. Like, I shouldn't have to, you know, be an apologist for the furry fandom, because, frankly, it's books like this that make me proud to be part of that community. And I'm not going to deny, yes, I am a furry. Deal with it. It's a thing that people are. I'm not even going to get into that entire debate, but this book just proves that the furry fandom has some of the most talented writers on the planet, and artists as well, because this book is also partially illustrated. And don't assume that just because it's furry literature, that automatically means it's smut. It's not. It's science fiction, essentially. In fact, there's sort of psychology science fiction, kind of. The best way I can put it is a cross between Doctor Who and Black Mirror, Charlie Brooker's TV show over here in the UK. Particularly an episode of Doctor Who entitled Amy's Choice, for any Whovians in my audience. Essentially, in that episode of Doctor Who, the Doctor and his two companions at the time, Amy and Rory, they keep dreaming and waking up and falling asleep and going between two different worlds, one in which Rory and Amy are happily married on Earth, she's pregnant and expecting a child, but then there's an alien invasion, and another in which they're trapped in a broken-down TARDIS drifting in space and about to collide with a sun that burns with ice fire instead of fire. And it's essentially that, but stretched out into a full book, but it's nowhere near as simple as that, obviously. That's just, it's a similar story. It's cut from the same cloth, but that's by no means to its detriment. So the story of this book, I was going to get into it, the two main characters that it focuses on, a chap called Knight O'Connell, and someone else by the name of Lieutenant Ambrose Bierce. I don't know if it's Kovac or Kovac. I've been pronouncing it Kovac in my head because of Tinkara Kovac from Eurovision 2014, but I could be wrong. And so, I would like to read at least an excerpt of it for you, my lovely people, because it's a really good book. But I'm aware that sales of the book, the illustrator does get royalties from it, and so, you know, if I were to read it, yes, that'd be good advertisement for Tristan, the author, but that would kind of sell the illustrator a bit short, and I don't want to cost them any sales, because it's a really good book and it deserves as much support as possible. But I will read out the blurb for you, and I'll put it up on the screen and everything. So, top secret, Perseus, eyes only. Personnel, O'Connell, Knight. Profile, programming genius, project head, revolutionary VR technology. Location, vacation resort, downtime reward for exceptional work. Status, recovering from brief hospital stay. Personnel, Kovac, A.B., First Lieutenant. Profile, Recon Fighter Pilot Starhawk 3, exemplary record, authorized in-flight plasma shuriken testing. Location, Star Cruiser Heartwielder, Gorgonia Tertia region. Status, training for Snake Lady Squad Medusa project. Mission protocol, reliable intel indicates viable project results within production and testing parameters. Medusa programming vital. Secure project details by any means necessary. Target personnel, expendable. Authorization, OORT Cloud 000. It's okay, we're on your side. No, really. Worlds apart, thrown together into a shadowy world of ghost memory and half-suspected conspiracy, Knight and Kovac must widen the fine line between reality and hallucination, dream and waking nightmare, sanity and madness, life and death, or another life. Now, that was enough just to sell me on the book by itself, so if that's not enough to convince you of its quality, then I'd just give it a chance, because I'm not really sure what else I could say about it. Like, the blurb on the back of the book, that was enough to sell me in the first place, and I read the first chapter and I was like, yes, this is a thing that I will enjoy. I read the first chapter on the day that it got here, because I ordered it online, and it actually arrived really quickly. I read the first chapter, it was rather late at night, so I had to put it down and went to bed, and then woke up the following day, which was actually yesterday, and over the course of the day read it from cover to cover, and I didn't mean to do that, because at the time of recording this, if you go onto my Twitter, so at Hexagons, you can actually see my real-time live reactions to the book. I'm essentially freaking out going, it's so good! I want to keep reading, but I don't want to run out of book, and by the end of the day, I had indeed run out of book, because it was that good, I just could not put it down. Well, I had to put it down, because after pretty much every chapter, I had to stop reading and just scream to myself, because it's just that good, and you know, you could say I'm overreacting, but no, it's like, this book made me feel. I felt feelings. A book has never made me feel this intensely before. And again, that has nothing to do with its status as a piece of furry literature, because I think it's to its credit that, although it is furry literature, the characters could be any species and it would make no difference to the story whatsoever. And I'm not saying, oh, you know, furryism, blah blah blah, you know, it's just a veil or whatever. Like, I'm not trying to say that it doesn't matter that it's a furry thing. In the same way that, you know, the main characters are, I think, at least bisexual, if not gay. It's not completely clarified as far as I can tell. There's some wiggle room for ambiguity there. Like, in the same way that their sexualities have no bearing on the story, like, they could be straight or asexual or whatever, and it wouldn't make a difference. Like, it's still important in terms of representation, but it doesn't have any bearing on the story, which is, I hesitate to say good. Like, it's good because it's not using furryism or sexuality as a gimmick, and it's not adhering to the stereotypes of, oh, all furry stuff is some sort of perverse kind of perversion. I don't know. The point is, it's not that. It could be anything, but it's taken this form, and it's really good. So don't be put off by the fact that it's furry, or that the main characters are LGBT, because, like I said, it has no bearing on the story, and I forget the point I was originally trying to make here, but it's just, like, there's nothing smutty in there. There are a couple of side references to things that are within the furry culture, but there's no explicit sex scenes. It's definitely no 50 Shades of Grey, and very much to the book's credit, because that would detract from the tone of it. And let me just say, the tone, the pacing, everything about this book is perfect. I cannot fault it. I think the only criticism I could even potentially think of is maybe the ending is a little bit rushed, but maybe that's just me trying to find fault, because, like, I cannot think of anything realistically wrong with this book. The pacing of it is perfect, the storytelling is very much on point, the description, the writing style, everything is just fucking beautiful. And it's enough to really draw me into the story, because, as I said, I had to stop reading after every chapter just to recover, to scream at the book, to feel feelings, and it's amazing, it's an experience. There's one point in the book where one of them, the partner of the main character, so Knight's boyfriend Donovan, there's a point where the antagonists, who I'm not going to say much about because spoilers, they torture him a bit in order to try to coerce Knight into doing a thing, and, like, I had to stop reading for a second to shout at the book, you leave him out of this, and that was genuine, it was full of genuine feeling. Like, this book made me feel feelings, it made me shout at the book to leave him alone, and, like, And there's another couple of details in there, like, I don't want to spoil anything about the book, because, like I said, the illustrator does get commission and stuff for every sale, like royalties and stuff. And by the way, yes, there are illustrations from a very talented artist. No, none of them are anything explicit, because like I said, it doesn't use furryism or sexuality as a gimmick. It's just, that's what it's written as. But I noticed, like, I'm not going to spoil anything, but those who have read the book will know what I'm talking about. The significance of a certain item and the colours red, blue and orange, I noticed that immediately. Like, that did not slip past me. There are things like that. There are deliberate inconsistencies in places that really set the tone, they set the mood, they make, like, it uses the medium of being a book really well, because it can say things straight to your face, it can show these details and then contradict itself a couple of paragraphs later in such a way that you can't keep an eye on everything at once, because you can only focus on what the book is telling you to focus on. And so it uses that to form this shifting landscape that is very much plot relevant. Like, there are these inconsistencies, but they're deliberate and they're important. But, yes, I caught the whole red, blue, orange thing, which, again, I won't spoil, but it's significant. But one thing that I had wondered about most of the book, again, not spoiling anything, but how did Knight O'Connell get into this situation in the first place? What caused him to be... What resulted in him being at the mercy of these people who, these antagonists? And he's not completely at their mercy, but figuratively speaking. And then it hit me. There's something that happens before the start of the book, and you're well aware of this throughout the whole story, but then there's a point where they tell you, oh, it's because of this thing that happened before the start of the book that you've been well aware of that's put up in this position. And of course you never think to think of it like that until they tell you that's what's happening. And admittedly, I could talk about this in so much greater detail if I weren't so scared of spoiling anything. But, like, I don't want to spoil anything because it's a brilliant book, and, like, I've been suffering withdrawal symptoms from it. I really want, more of this. So I don't want to spoil anything, because I can't read this for the first time ever again, because I know what happens, and I know everything about it. It's so good! And I think it was released in the middle of June, or first published or whatever. I may be wrong about that. I think that's when it was first published. I know it's very recent. And so I'm hoping and praying that that Tristan does write more stuff, hopefully with these characters, with this universe, because he's got a really brilliant universe to work with. He's got brilliant characters in the form of Knight, Donovan, possibly even Kovac, depending on how you interpret the ending, because there is an ending, obviously, because I read the ending and now I have nothing left to read. But the point is, there's Knight and Donovan as a pairing, there's Kovac, there's the Sixth Wall, which again I won't spoil who or what they are, or that is, or whatever. There's so much to work with. They have a whole world to work with, and it would just lend itself so well to sequels. So, Tristan, if you're watching, please write more. Tristan does have pages on various furry social media, and he said that he no longer takes commissions for story writing, which is kind of sad, but I mean, I can understand why he did it. He explains himself perfectly well on his pages. I'll put a link to his Twitter, and all relevant links can be found from there. But he's given his reasoning why he doesn't take commissions for stories anymore, which is a shame, because I would quite happily pay a fair amount just to get a sequel to this, because I can't put into words just how much I love this book and cannot recommend it highly enough. I'll include a link to where you can buy it on Amazon. I've made this nearly quarter of an hour video just rambling about how much I love this book. That should tell you something about how brilliant it is, because, as I've said, this book has made me feel things intensely that books have never made me feel before. I've never felt so closely attached to characters, to events, to stories, to anything. I've never shouted at a book before. I've never had to take breaks from a book to scream and to stop reading just so I could spend time speculating about what could happen next, because I could just carry on reading. I could read ahead and find out what happens next, but I'd rather pause for a bit and speculate and then come back and read and think, there's this and there's that. And this book is a beautiful experience. And honestly, the artwork by someone whose pen name is DreamAndNightmare. I believe they're German? Anyway, they're really talented as well. I think that adds to it, and the book would stand up without those illustrations as well. There are only about 4 or 5 illustrations throughout the whole book, and I think they add to it. They help you visualize what's going on just in case you had trouble with it, and I cannot recommend this book highly enough, whether it's from a furry perspective or a non-furry perspective, or whatever you're going into this book, whichever mindset you're taking going into this, it really pays off. It's just... I'm not being paid to say any of this. These are legitimately my genuine fanboyish reactions to it. So, yeah, I have nothing else to say in this vlog. Just, it's a brilliant book. Just go and buy it, experience it. It's glorious, and please, please let there be another one in this series, because they got so much stuff to work with. But I've rambled for a quarter of an hour over how brilliant this book is. Go and buy it, it's brilliant! So I have been and will continue to be Tessellating Hexagons, and I'll see you in whichever of my videos you happen to choose to watch next, or something. I'm sorry to have taken up so much of your time, but this book is fucking brilliant! See you some other time.